Welcome back to Rodecast, guys. Hope you're doing well out there. I'm your host, Rod, as always. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the escalating protests in Chicago that have been going on against the ICE raids that are happening, rightfully so, where the ICE agents are removing people who are illegally in our country. And there's a lot of people who have a problem with that. And we're going to look at some of them in this video. So initially, these protests were mostly peaceful. Okay. They started in front of the Broadview facility, which I discussed. There were a couple of violent outbursts here and there, but for the most part, they remained peaceful. They were just doing what protesters are supposed to do. Now, after that, this last couple of days, it's been getting worse and worse, and it's been more rowdy, and there are more agitators there, people who are actually violent, who are not protesters, but rioters. Okay, you have a First Amendment right to express your opinions and your dissatisfaction with whatever government policy that's part of our country, and the First Amendment, that's fine. Technically, there's nothing anybody can do about that unless you cross over into illegal activity like blocking ICE cars from leaving the facility, which some people did last week, and they were arrested accordingly. Okay, but most people didn't try to do that. They were just protesting. Now it's escalated to the point where they're trying to block almost every single ICE car, the detaining cars that are going in or coming out of the facility. So things have gotten even more violent. Okay, so let's take a look here. We're going to be looking at a couple of videos. And it's not good. Okay, we're heading in the direction of Los Angeles, which is not a good thing. But in LA, they were violent from the start. Okay, there were like car burnings and things that started right away. Okay, and that's because of the demographic in Los Angeles. In Portland, it's a different demographic.
Here we're in Brighton Park in Chicago on 39th and Kedzie. Was a shooting earlier, an ICE-involved shooting. We want to demand an investigation. They are escalating violence. They are escalating violence in the city. This is not making anyone safer. These raids, and you saw the raids that just did a few days ago, they were innocent people. They have not shown the need to go and terrorize families in the middle of the night, blocking kids, getting people naked in the middle of the street. Is that public safety? Is this public safety ended up with a shooting? Some being chased and now wrecked in a few blocks away from here? This is not keeping nobody safe.
Yeah, we're not trying to keep you safe. You need to be dragged away back to your country along with your illegal friends. Okay. As far as that, he's talking about that apartment building that I covered last week, and there happened to be kids there. If they're illegal, yes, detain them. This is not about public safety. It's about enforcing our immigration laws. And yes, there were Tren de Aragua gangsters who were also arrested in that building, but sure, there were kids there as well. Okay, I don't know if the kids, if they were illegals, they certainly should be arrested. Just because you're young doesn't mean you're exempt from the law. Okay, if they were brought here as children, that's a sad day for them. Okay, they weren't born here. They're not Americans. You're not an American, and all of you need to get the hell out of my country. And as far as escalating violence go, did ICE show up at your house? This guy just said that they're the ones who are escalating the violence. You show up and do violent protesting in front of their building. You try to stop their cars and their officers from leaving that facility and also coming in with detainees, and you're blaming ICE for the escalation of violence when your side is the one who's trying to prevent them from doing their job that the law allows them to do. Your family, your raza has invaded our country, and we're trying to clean you up, and you have the temerity to claim that we're the ones who are doing something wrong after you illegally invade our country. They're being too nice to you, in my opinion. Okay, you need to be dragged away by your hair back to the countries that you came from. Okay, my immigration policies, which would be much tougher than Trump's. Okay, he's too nice, and ICE is being too nice as well. Although recently they've knocked out some of the violent protesters and dragged them away, as they should. Okay, because you have no right to do violence. And these are a bunch of white people too, by the way. Most of the ones who are getting knocked out, people who think that they're being white saviors to their beloved illegals. Okay, they're beloved taco-eating little bastards who've invaded our country, who have no right to be here.
Here, this is not keeping nobody safe, and they know that. Look at what's going on. These are war zones. These are war zones in neighborhoods that
you created the war zone by your ungrateful and undeserving self being in my land, built by my ancestors, who you have done nothing for and you have no right to be here. Okay, you have your own country, but you don't want to be there. You want to be in ours. And we don't want you in ours, so you're getting dragged out. Get ready.
That had full of life, full of culture, full of life, full of vibrancy.
Your culture is inferior and disgusting, and I don't want you here. Go eat tacos in your own country. We don't want your culture here. And your accent is making me physically ill right now.
I love our diversity. This is perpetrated.
Fuck diversity. I'm against diversity. I don't want diversity. This is an Anglo-Saxon and Nordic country built by Northern Europeans. You have no right to be here. I don't want your effing diversity. You're disgusting. Your feet touching this ground is a crime against me and my ancestors. Okay? So get your Hispanic ass out of here. We don't want you here. We don't want your diversity.
But people that want to go back 100 years ago to the civil rights, when people lynch, when there are people getting lynched. This is what this is about.
No, I don't support lynchings, especially not of black people, because black people have been here since the 1600s. They have a right to be here. We have a lot of problems with black people in this country, but they have a right to be here. It doesn't matter what the problems are. This is a biracial country of white people and black people, and we had our problems, but we deal with them the best we can. You are not involved in that debate because you are not a foundational American. Okay, those debates are for us to have. You have no right to even talk about that because this is not your country. He has a country. I think he's from Mexico. That's his country. Okay, everybody has a place here. Nature has created countries for everyone. Okay, that we were born in, that have history that relates to us and our ancestors. But they want to break into ours and somehow demand that we accept them. We don't want to accept you. That's why we're having this problem. Okay, that's why ICE is doing what they're doing, because the citizens don't want you here. Real Americans don't want you here because you're not an American and you'll never be.
We gotta unite working people against this fascist authoritarian regime.
Oh yes, drop the F word. Fascist. Yeah, I am a fascist. Now what are you going to do about it? Nothing. So just shut up and go eat some tacos in Mexico.
Protesters back with wooden batons and making arrests. Governor Pritzker speaking out today as well.
Look at this. This one here, this white lady, man, we're trying to help you out here. Okay. You are the victims of these people that become victims of these people, and they just don't get it. Okay. So it's very disappointing. Very disappointing.
They are the ones that are making it a war zone. They need to get out of Chicago if they're not going to focus on the worst of the worst, which is what the president said they were going to do.
Even if it is the worst of the worst, you still don't want them arrested, you fat Jewish piece of crap. You would rather have white women be raped by these dirty immigrants than for them to be arrested. He doesn't care. How do you know if they're not the worst of the worst? None of these protesters who are trying to stop these ICE arrests know who they're arresting. The ICE officers know who they're going after. These stupid protesters who are trying to stop the cars from going into the building, into and out of the building, they have no idea. Pritzker has no idea. They see a Mexican or some kind of Hispanic and like, oh my God, we got to protect them. Okay, they could be a rapist and a murderer. They don't even know. They automatically assume they're not white, so we got to protect them. That's it. Okay, Pritzker doesn't know. He doesn't have details and files on who ICE is arresting. They could be terrorists for all they know. They don't care. They don't care. They just don't want anybody deported out of here. They don't want ICE doing their job at all. The signs don't say ICE out of Chicago unless they're arresting criminals. No, it just says ICE out of Chicago. What does that mean? That means they don't want ICE doing their job at all. They want all the illegals, including the rapists and the murderers, to stay here. That's what the open borders people at these protests want. That's not even what most liberals want. Most liberals don't even want that. Only the insane, lunatic, progressive left wants that. Okay, they're the ones who don't want any deportations. And of course, the anarchists who don't care about any law and order. They want to literally destroy the government. They're not on any side. But they support the illegals breaking into our country because they're open borders. They don't believe in borders. They think borders are racist by definition, so we can't have them. We shouldn't have them. That's what they believe. So they want to destroy all government structure and all order in society, which means anarchy should reign supreme in their mind. Okay, these are the people who wear black masks and are complete nihilists. They don't believe in anything. They hate life, basically. They don't want any order or structure. Without that, you can't have life. Nature itself, out in the universe and on Earth, there's always laws that you have to abide by. The laws of physics, for example. This universe and reality itself has rules. Same way human societies have also got rules. Other animals and mammals, they also have rules. Chimpanzees and gorillas. Everything in nature has rules that they abide by. Every atom and molecule has to abide by the laws of nature, and so do we. Okay, but they don't want, and for societies, we need to make up rules that are logical for us to follow to have an ordered society. But some people just don't want that because they're so nihilistic, they don't care about anything.
They need to get the heck out.
Yeah, that's going to happen, bro.
And we saw a tense standoff between Illinois State Police and protesters just last night, with those protesters calling the state police traitors for protecting this federal building here, Kelly. Yeah, a lot of back.
Yeah, think about that. ICE is doing their job to remove people who've broken into our country, but the protesters call the state police traitors for helping other police officers, federal officers, do their job. That statement shows you, at least for the people that said that shows their mindset. Siding with foreigners is the non-treasonous thing to do, but siding with our own police officers, federal police officers, is the treasonous thing to do. And that proves everything that I've said on my channel, which is that these people love foreigners more than they love Americans. And that's where the Democratic Party is trending. That's why they're losing every election across the country. Most elections. They're winning some special elections, to be fair. But in most jurisdictions, they're losing because Americans are realizing that Democrats care more about illegal aliens than they do about Americans. All I hear from the Democratic Party ever is immigrants. They're always talking about immigrants, legal or illegal. I don't care. I don't want any of them here. I want you to talk about Americans. But they're not. They're constantly trying to help illegal aliens stay in this country. That's all I hear from them. And if you think you're going to win elections that way, good luck. Appealing to the 15%, the 20% of the country who care about illegals. Self-hating white people who want to destroy this country. That's a very small minority, okay? They're loud, but they're a small minority. Most people want to preserve their own heritage and preserve the heritage of this country.
Back and forth, Mills. And we also know Border Patrol agents shot at a woman yesterday. She was allegedly trying to run over agents with her car. We reported on this off the top. What more are you learning about that case?
Well, Kelly, that woman has now been federally charged with felony assault after she allegedly was carrying a gun and also following around Border Patrol agents' vehicles and then ramming into those vehicles. Now, another man has also been charged as well for following those agents and also participating in what they were doing as far as trying to keep those Border Patrol agents' vehicles surrounded. That woman is now in FBI custody, and hundreds of protesters actually responded to the scene. A Chicago police supervisor originally told police not to respond, but they ultimately did, where they helped maintain control and traffic as well, crowd and traffic control, even being hit by tear gas themselves.
Very quickly, we were just all in a lot of pain. People were throwing up. The community came together and mobilized extremely fast. People were coming up with water, distilled vinegar, other agents to neutralize the attack.
No, you got it wrong backwards, man. You're the one doing the attack. These police officers, these ICE officers are trying to clean up our country and maintain our heritage. And you, being a white guy, you're trying to destroy your own. Good job. You must be so proud of yourself. Are you atoning for slavery still? Or what's your excuse for this, by the way?
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem says they have intelligence that gangs, cartel members, and known terrorist organizations have bounties on the heads of specific immigration officers and agents, $2,000 to kidnap them, $10,000 to kill them. Noem says they've put protective...
I'd like to see some evidence on that one. Okay, that seems like a very... That's not impossible, but that's a high level claim. I want to see some evidence on that.
Detail around those individuals and change some of their operations. She continued by attacking Governor Pritzker, accusing him of turning over his state to, quote, violent illegal aliens and actively working against law enforcement in support of lawless anarchists. But Governor Pritzker has also been receiving a pushback from these protesters because of the show of force by Illinois State Police. You actually could hear some of those protesters screaming shame and go home to federal law enforcement officers that are behind that gate over there.
The only people who should be ashamed are the lunatics, especially the white people who are showing up at these protests. If there's anybody who should be ashamed, it's them. All right, so you guys see what's going on here. It's going to get worse. Okay. It's probably, I hope it doesn't get to the levels of LA, because they're like literally burning cars and trying to burn down the city, a bunch of Latinos. But nevertheless, here it's mostly white people, but there's still violence. Okay. The demographics are different, but nevertheless, it's all the same when political extremism is driving your actions. And that's what's happening to a lot of people who've shown up at these protests, unfortunately. They hate the fact that any kind of border enforcement is happening. They want complete open borders, and they're not willing to settle for anything less. And we're not going to have that. So they didn't learn anything from LA, which is that ICE is not stopping. We're not stopping. Okay, we're going to come for you if you're illegal, and there's not a damn thing anyone can do about it. You can protest all you like. You're just wasting your life and your time. But that's up to you. They have the freedom to do that. They're American citizens, unlike the people that ICE is arresting. And that's all I got to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you guys in my next one.